Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claudia Herrera. I work for the Small Business Resource Center at the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. I would like to thank you all today for joining today's WebEx webinar on Foundations for Successful Business. Without further ado, I'm going to let our panelists take it away. Start off with Ms. Nicola Shaw. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia, and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure that you have joined us virtually. We understand that there were approximately 239 registrants for this workshop. So we at the DC Small Business Development Center, under our state director's leadership, Carl E. Brown Jr. and his team, would like to thank you for joining us. Today, we are really rolling out a new workshop. So the attendees that are participating in this virtual workshop today, you are the first. So our Foundations for a Successful Business, Module 1, Introduction to Business, will really be the developing of your initial business plan. We're proud to present it with our partners from the DC Consumer and Regulatory Affairs Small Business Development Center. So thank you, Claudia. We are pleased that you're with us.
Nicola, you're on mute.
Okay. Did you get my introduction? I want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay. So we're really glad that our partner with the DC Small Business Resource Center has joined us today. I'd also like to introduce to you my partner in crime, Michael Butler. Michael and I, okay, I just want to make sure that you can hear me.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Michael Butler and I. Claudia, second slide. Mike and I have been working together collectively for approximately 4 years. You can see from this slide that we are the business consultants with the DC Small Business Development Center at Howard University. And of course, the center is celebrating its 40th year. So we certainly invite each of you to join us so that we can provide you assistance. Our objective is really to help the small businesses grow their economic development. We provide counseling and assistance to hundreds of clients on a daily basis. You can see by this chart that's being shown now that we come to you with a wealth of knowledge. Our educational background, as well as our experience, will let you know that you are in good hands. We are like Allstate, and we want to make sure that you become a satisfied customer within our region. Again, under the leadership of the DC Small Business Development Center. Next slide. We are focusing today on your time for success. We want to make sure this is really an administrative slide. So we want to make sure that you really get all of the information that you need during this 90-minute section. And we also want to make sure that if there are any questions that you have, you will be provided. You should send your emails to the question and answer area. During this process, Claudia will select at random those individuals that we will be able to answer questions to. So please make sure that your mic is mute, that your cell phones are on vibrate, but it's an interactive session. So we want to make sure that you share your experiences with us and that you have open dialogue. And of course, Claudia, at the end of our workshop, will forward you a survey for completion of how we did, rating us, and that information will be forwarded to the DC Small Business Development Center. Claudia? All right. This is really our agenda for today. I'm really going to stop at this point for just a moment to see if there are any questions that Claudia has received as of this time frame. Claudia, any questions?
Checking right now. Oh, no questions so far, Nicole.
Thank you. You will see we have an extensive agenda today. We hope that you have received, and I know that Claudia has forwarded to you, a copy of the entire presentation. So let's talk about it a little bit. We're going to talk about the DC Small Business Development Center. We're going to ask, through random selection, each of you to give us a overview of your company, whether it's a startup or an existence. We're going to talk about the changing landscape. Of course, in that, we're going to include COVID-19. Why are you starting your business? Do you want to make extra money? Or has this been a lifetime decision on yours to create a legacy? Also, we'll talk about those myths and realities of business ownership and how hard work can really pay off. What is your business concept versus an idea? Meaning, have you started to put your ideas on paper? If not, that's just what it is, an idea. Of course, on page 14 of this presentation, you were to do an at-home assignment, and we're looking forward to your feedback on that. And of course, all of those sources that are available to you will be included in this presentation. And most of our sources are free and at your disposal. So, with that being said, let the play begin. Claudia? Next slide. All right. We want to talk a little bit about the DC Small Business Development Center. As I indicated, we have been in business for 40 years, and we welcome that you use us as a facilitator, and we are a one-stop shop to make sure that you have a viable business. Mike, would you take it away for just a moment?
Sure. Okay. I wanted to share with you, as Nicola said, we are funded in part by the United States SBA, Small Business Administration. And it's surprising for some people to know that the SBA was chartered by an act of Congress on July 30th, 1953. The SBA has been around as a federal agency for 67 years. And part of its requirement and mandate is to facilitate access to capital. And we know that that's happening right now as we speak. Provide counseling and training, and that's our relationship with the SBA, to provide counseling and training. A lot of that training and counseling goes to veteran-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, and women-owned businesses. And the last thing that the SBA does is to provide assistance to businesses during natural disasters. So I just wanted to share that little tidbit about the SBA, and they are our major funder and our partner. Thank you, Nicola.
Thank you, Mike. We also want you to know that throughout the 50 states in America, we have over 1,000 centers and, of course, 6,000 business consultants, of which Mike and I are two of the consultants that are available to you at the DC Small Business Development Center. And our services are provided to you with a four-letter word, free, F-R-E-E, or low cost. And when we say low cost, that means that it's a nominal fee just to really help us with our administrative costs. 50 states, 1,000 centers, 6,000 consultants, all located throughout the United States, and certainly with the lead center, Howard University Small Business Development Center, located in Washington, D.C. Claudia, do we have any questions?
No questions so far, Nicola.
Thank you. Please, this is an interactive presentation and workshop. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you forward them to the question and answer area. As provided, we get our accreditation, meaning the Small Business Development Center, every 5 years. Low and no cost. We have 2 locations available to you, one in Ward 4 and one in Ward 8, but we also have 7 locations throughout the DC area. In 2019, we serviced almost 600 clients, and we had an infusion of capital of over $20 million. So you see that we are here to assist you financially, technically, through workshops, and to help you grow your business. Next slide. This chart really shows you that Howard University's Small Business Development Center is the lead center, and we are located in Ward 1, Georgia Avenue, not far from the hospital, Howard University Hospital. Our other center is located in Ward 8 in Anacostia. You can see all of the locations that are provided to you below. We do not have, currently, we do not have a center in Ward 4 or Ward 5, but I'm sure under the leadership of our director, state director, that's probably not too far behind. We want to make sure that we are accessible to you, and you can use our centers throughout the District of Columbia. Mike, would you like to add something?
No, fine. No, we can go forward.
Any questions yet? Claudia?
Nope, no questions so far.
All right. Okay, our next slide will show you that, as we indicated, this is a participatory workshop. So give us your questions out there, you 239 registered attendees. It's going to take us through random about 2 minutes for us to find out who you are. Claudia will act as our facilitator on this. So we're going to find out, what is your name? Are you in business? What is your business concept? or are you currently in business? Mike?
Yeah, thank you for that handoff. And we're also going to ask you about a business plan. Do you have a business plan in place? And of course, that's what this entire workshop and the modules to follow are all about. You want to know that you ought to know that your business plan will operate as your roadmap. It will determine in which direction you go and how your business is going to sustain itself in the future. If you are in business, what are your products or services? Um, you need to certainly identify what they are, and we want to talk about that. We want to hear from you in terms of what your products are and or what your services are. And what is your MVP? Not your most valuable player, but your most viable product. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But for now, we want to hear about your product and services. And we want to hear your elevator pitch. Oftentimes, we're speaking with clients and we say, you need to develop an elevator pitch. So the actual definition of an elevator pitch is a short, memorable description of what you do or what you sell. And so you should be able to articulate that in a 30-second or 40-second interval. And the concept came from an elevator speech. So if you are getting in an elevator with some first floor, by the time you arrive to the fifth floor of this high rise, you should have been able to articulate to them what it is that you do and what it is that you sell for the purposes of initiating another contact at a later point. Maybe after the pitch, you've shared your business card and you're going to follow up with that person who may have an interest in what you do as a small business. And then we want to hear from you in terms of what you do or what you think and how you will anticipate funding your business. You know, oftentimes we can think about the creative ideas about what we have, but oftentimes we need to consider where is the money coming from to start this business. And as you may be aware, there are traditional lending institutions, banks, and now there are CDFIs. You may have personal savings. You may be looking at angel investors, but we want to hear from you about how you anticipate funding your business. Maybe it's your parents, maybe it's family and friends, but you should at least give it some consideration to how you're going to fund your business. So Claudia, I think we can open it up, and if there are several volunteers who want to talk to us about these items that we've just gone through, we'd be happy to hear it.
But
Yes,
first,
so
we would like, first, Claudia, we'd like to set an example of what an elevator pitch is. So if I just got on the elevator with someone, they don't know me, but I recognize them, I will follow, as Mike has said, within 30 seconds. Good afternoon. I'm Nicola Shaw, the principal of the Shaw Consulting Group. I provide business management services to federal, state, and local, as well as private sector companies. I should have gotten the person that's on the elevator with me their attention. So it needs to be brief, articulate, fast, clearly indicated by speaking, and you always do it with a smile. So Mike, give us your 30-second or less elevator pitch. Unmute.
Oh, thank you. My name is Michael Butler, and I am the owner of a consulting firm called the Michael Group. We do workplace consulting. We can help you grow your business, and we can look at opportunities for opportunities to make money and to grow your concept. Let's talk later. Here's my business card, and I'll drop you an email or give you a call.
All of this was done actually in about 5 seconds. So you can see by the time you practice, you want to get that individual's attention quickly. And don't forget, hand off that business card. Tell them that you will follow up with them as well as ask for their business card. Claudia, do we have any questions? Or have we selected someone at random who can give us their 30-second elevator speech?
Yes, Leslie wrote in the chat. Her name is Leslie, and I apologize if I do not get your last name correct. Hudaya. This is her speech. My name is Leslie Hudaya. I am in business currently online. I have a home decor business. My MVP is my candle stand reed diffusers. Currently in grad school for clinical mental health and would like to ultimately open a therapy studio.
Very good, Leslie. But you didn't tell me that who your audience was, where you met them, possibly, and how you would follow up with them. So remember that. What do you think, Mike?
Yes, I would agree. I did get a sense of what her business is, uh, but I think there should be a follow-up with the business concept and scheduling that next get-together.
Correct. Claudia, give us another one.
Yes, and I also wanted to let the audience know if you would like to speak, I can unmute you on my side. Just please send me a message in the chat. But I do have another one that someone typed in the chat. Her name is Yanette Moore. She says that she's not in business. I am hoping to develop an elementary school and educational consulting business. I have no business plan in place. I do not yet have an elevator speech, but I am ensuring educational equity. I am hoping to fund my school through donors, scholarship programs, and grants.
Great. Well, you need to come in and talk with us at the DC Small Business Development Center, where we have really assisted quite a few business or potential business owners with their business plan, because as we go through the presentation, you will see that the business plan, as Mike had mentioned, is really the roadmap to success. Mike, you have any additional comments?
I just wanted to add, it sounded as though you may be looking at a nonprofit business. You mentioned grants and you mentioned foundations, I think. So there is a difference, obviously, between a for-profit and a nonprofit business. And we would need to sit down at some point and really articulate the differences and point you in the direction for making sure that you can get a nonprofit business up and running. Our focus here primarily, because we receive funding from the SBA, is to focus on for-profit businesses. But if your concept, as I seem to have understood it, is nonprofit, we can certainly at least sit down with you and point you in the right direction.
And we can also, through the DC Small Business Development Center at DCRA, they also work with entities that are developing a nonprofit. So call on both of us, not only DC SBDC, for us to help you in deciding if this is for-profit or nonprofit, but also through Claudia's office at the Small Business Development Center. Okay, Claudia, one more.
Hi, my name is Carla Ansley, and I am the founder and CEO of CellTech Global. CellTech Global is a technology and business management company. We work with industries so that they establish and solve business model innovation for an intelligent enterprise.
Okay, Carla. Where are you located? Could you answer that question? Maybe we can unmute her. Is she in Maryland, Virginia, or the District of Columbia?
She said Washington, D.C.
Wonderful. And you're in the technology business. But you didn't tell me how I could get in touch with you. and I'm only making the presumption that you handed me a business card. Is that correct, Mike?
Yes, that would be observation. So you want to always be able to close the elevator pitch. So you want to be able to close that with the receiving of a business card or the handing off of a business card, because the purpose of the pitch is to make a quick, memorable introduction, but set the tone for another meeting or another opportunity to sit down and further discuss your business or receive information about their business.
And we see that we are now getting the hang of how you can participate with us. Claudia, you're doing a great job, so thank you. And let's move on to our next slide. But before we do that, let me make sure that we have answered all of the questions, or at least a random selection of those of the pitch from those that emailed or text Claudia. Claudia, did you get any more?
I got a few more elevator speeches if you wanted to hear those.
Okay, well, we'll get them on the next round. Is that correct, Mike? Okay. Now you can see that everyone is talking about COVID-19. It is a world pandemic. Obviously, being in business, we are concerned about it too. Not only you as the owner, but also the employees. So Mike, you want to start off with our first 2 minutes?
Yes, thank you, Nicola. I'm thinking that this is a new slide, obviously, that we have added and given some thought to, because this is a new environment that we're living in. And anyone who is considering starting a business in this environment should think about a few things. You need to think about, is there a market for your business or product during this pandemic time? What will be impacted? What will be impact if you have to social distance? What kind of business will you be able to create? Is there a market for it in this current COVID-19 environment? I know that I have several clients who were looking at event planning businesses. And so they've had to look at doing a pivot, because not a lot of people at this particular time are planning events. And so we've taken a look at how you can pivot the business and maybe do something else while you are still in this particular pandemic environment. But you need to think about that. Does your existing concept need to be, or can it pivot? Again, that's what I've talked about with some of my clients, pivoting your services or your product. There are clothing companies that have pivoted to mass producing facial coverings or facial masks. There are companies that were in the production of alcohol who have started making hand sanitizer. They've had to pivot their existing concept to do something different in this COVID environment, to keep themselves afloat, to keep their employees in place as best as possible. And then there's the federal, state, and local regulations and guidelines. We talked a little bit about what the SBA does in terms of its assistance with small businesses. As you may be aware of, and certainly you are, that the Congress passed about 60 days, maybe a little bit more ago, the CARES Act, the CARES Act. That is the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. And the purpose is to provide assistance to small businesses during this disaster. So being aware of what the federal government is doing, being aware of what the state and local government are doing in terms of resources for business in this COVID environment are critically important. Um, the CARES Act basically provided um, economic injury disaster loans, economic injury disaster grants, and the PPP, which is Paycheck Protection Program. You've heard a lot about that. Millions and millions of dollars have gone into that program to offer assistance to small businesses. And there is something called an Express Bridge Loan that's available under the CARES Act. And there's also something called the Business Debt Relief Program under the CARES Act. Those programs are designed to offer assistance during this COVID period to small businesses. Now, you have had to have been in business, obviously, prior to March 13th of this year in order to be eligible for some of those federal opportunities under the CARES Act. So that's something that certainly can be talked about at some point through a further consultation. But that's on the federal level. There are local regulations and guidelines as well, and the District of Columbia government has come up with several DC micro grants that are available for local small businesses. There are applications needed to be submitted and reviewed, and monies were distributed to some of the local businesses, and monies are still being distributed to some of the local businesses all across the District of Columbia. Those funds were distributed through the local agencies, DSLBD and DMPED, the Deputy Mayor's Office for Planning and Economic Development. So you need to be aware of what you can do or what opportunities and services and resources are available during this pandemic.
I also want to make sure that you are abreast of the changes. As we know, the changes change daily. But if you are also located in Ward 7 and Ward 8 of the District of Columbia, there are different grants that are offered to you through the Department of Small and Local Business Development, as Mike had mentioned. But let's talk about this because it changes on a daily, definitely a weekly basis. Even though the legislation may say something, the rules and regulations may change. Be mindful of those rules and regulations that are at the state level as well as the local level. And let me ask you a question. How will these rules and regulations impact your business? Have you been able to identify the risk and how you can mitigate or soften the risk for your businesses? At this point, I want to see, Claudia, do we have any questions before I go down to the last two bullet points?
Let me check. I did not have. Oh, yes, one question. Michael said a funding source was CDFI. What is this?
Is abbreviation for the Community Development Financial Institutions. So those would be lending institutions, not like your traditional banks, the Bank of Americas or the Wells Fargos. These would be, I don't want to call them second tier, but these would be perhaps smaller community lending institutions, perhaps like your credit union, or there are local agencies that are providing funding and grants. So the idea is that there perhaps is less red tape and bureaucracy for accessing some of these funds from these CDFIs. The paperwork, certainly there's paperwork required, but it may not be as time consuming and tedious as you might find with the larger organizations. Not that, the requirements are any different, but it's just that access to that capital or to those grants may be a little less tedious on the part of the person seeking those funds.
Thank you, Mike. And I really want to talk about the last two bullet points on this slide. Can I reasonably protect myself and my employees in this business? Mike talked about that. He indicated, what is your alternatives? If you are an existing business versus a startup business, think outside of the box. If I'm a clothing retailer, as Michael had mentioned, perhaps I can make some masks. Perhaps I can do that online. Make sure that you are talking about, is my business going to be a home-based business, a sole proprietorship, an LLC, a corporation, or is it going to be brick and mortar? These are the types of questions that you need to ask yourself now, particularly if you are a startup entity. And if you are not a startup entity and you haven't looked at your business plan in 2 years, shame on you. Because a business plan, as Mike indicated initially, is a roadmap. And it's a changing roadmap on a road to success. Claudia, any questions?
Yes. A question from Jerry Washington. Is it possible to get a guidance on how to pivot your original idea into a workable post-COVID business plan?
Absolutely. Register with us. One of our counselors will help you. We will be able to really discern whether or not the existing business that you have can be translated into something else. Or if it's not an existing business, maybe you want to pivot your idea, as Mike said, maybe you want to change that idea if you were going down the road of being a restaurateur. Maybe now you want to just be a carryout. Again, we can assist you in making that decision. I'd like to ask that participant, are they currently in business or they are startup business? Can they respond, Claudia?
Yes, I'm waiting for their response right now. He is a startup.
Okay. Yes, we can assist you, and there'll be more information about our counseling services as we get closer into the presentation. Mike, do you have a comment?
I would just simply echo what you said, and that is a consultation, it sounds like, so we can kind of look at all of the elements of your business and see where there is opportunity to pivot and move in another direction. But that's a sit-down conversation. Well, not a face-to-face anymore, but that is a telephone conversation or a Zoom consultation where we can kind of look at the business plan and help you, yeah, where your strengths are and maybe in that direction.
Mike talked about something most important. Even though the DC Small Business Development Center is not at Howard University in our business school right now, we are still holding counseling sessions virtually. And we're doing that Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 a.m. every day, with the exception
5 p.m.
5 p.m. with the exception of Saturdays and Sundays and holidays, but we are available here to serve you. Next slide, Claudia. Do we have another question, Claudia, before we go to the next slide?
Yes, ma'am. Can Michael quickly list the FED federal funds available under the CARES Act and where we can find more information about the CARES and FDIC?
Are you saying CDFIs? Is that what you're referring to? The Community Development Financial Institutions?
believe so. It says, where can we find more information about CARES and
Okay. So
CDFI?
so you can find more information about the CARES Act from the U.S. Small Business Administration. And their website is www.sba.gov. And you can go to that website and you may have to root around a bit, but there will be that speaks to the COVID-19 pandemic response by the SBA, and it uh, point you to the provisions of the CARES Act. Will point you to even applying for the EIDL loan or the EIDL grant. Just as a side note, the PPP, the Paycheck Protection Program, is funds that come from the United States Treasury. Those funds go to the traditional lending institutions and the CDFIs for helping offer assistance to those small businesses. But you can get most of, if not all of the information that you're requesting from the SBA.gov website.
And also, Mike, I can add to that. You can also get that information. Some of that information is posted on DC SBDC's website. The
Yes.
appropriate links that, and that is www.dcsbdc.org. So, and we will give you all of that additional information as we get closer to the end of our workshop. Okay, Claudia, next slide, unless we have a question.
I have a few more questions. Do you want to? Okay.
Yes.
Do you help to write business plans / proposals?
No, we don't help to write. It's your idea, it's your concept, but we will guide you in the right direction. We will review the business plans for you, provide our critique. Oftentimes, Mike and I work as a partnership on that aspect. We look at the business plan, and we're going to talk about the many different steps of a business plan and those 13 steps of the business plan and what you should do first and what you should do last. So that's up and coming in the presentation as we move forward. But yes, the idea, the concept is you, and you are more equipped to tell us what your thought pattern is and how you'd like your business. But certainly we will guide you through the process. And oftentimes it's not a one-time review. I think Mike and I have worked with several businesses that it may have taken a couple of months to get their business plan up and operating in the way they wanted it. Because once we review it, we critique it, you take it back home, add or delete some of the comments that we've made, and then incorporate those thoughts into your development of your business plan. Mike, would you like to add something?
And the second part of that question was, I thought I heard business plans and proposals.
Yes.
Yeah, we do not deal at all with proposals, but our focus is mostly on business plan development. And as Nicola said, it's a process, a back and forth, but we certainly will be able to guide you and offer you business plan templates. We have multiple templates that we can refer you to, and making sure that all of the elements that need to be included in a business plan are there, because a business plan is primarily two parts. There's the narrative part, and then there's the financial part. And as Nicola said, most people have the concept in their head. They need to get it down on paper. That's the narrative part of the business plan, which is easier to do, perhaps, for some than the financial plan. But we sit down and help marry, as it were, the narrative and the financial part of the plan to make sure that it's one complete, cohesive document that you can use to guide your business or to seek funding for your business, if that's your desire.
Next question is a business plan necessary if you are not seeking any outside funding? This relates to a startup not yet in business.
A business plan is always important, as Mike had mentioned earlier. Whether you are seeking financial assistance or not, it's really a revolving roadmap. It's going, how you started it may not be the way that you're going to end it. And we have historically said that as a new concept, you really should be looking at your business plan at least every quarter. That way, whether or not you're going to ask for financial assistance to start out with, you may want to have financial assistance at a later date. So you want to make sure that your business plan is current, because this is really how you're going to operate your business. This is really, like we've said over and over again, it's really the guide, the roadmap on how the changes are going to be impacted in your business. And if you don't have a roadmap, you're going to get lost. Mike?
Unequivocally, you need a business plan right from the beginning. I can tell you countless stories of clients who started a business and did not have a business plan in place, and a tremendous opportunities presented themselves down the road after they had been.
Mike froze on us really quickly.
Well, I'm going to echo what Mike was saying, is that it is a necessity. It is a requirement. You do not want to usurp your business by not having a business plan. Please, it's important. It's vital to your success. And with that, we're going to go to our next slide. Thank you, Claudia. As you can see, this slide is talking about the changing landscape. Are you in the right lane? Now, of course, this is on the back of our previous slide, which talked about COVID. And let's talk about a traditional business, traditional work. Well, you may have decided that you want to be a management consultant. That may now, where you visited your businesses before, you marketed those businesses. Well, the traditional work now is now the new norm. We don't know what the new norm is at this particular point. We are dealing with it by trial and error. So the new norm, we don't know. It changes on a daily basis. But we need to be prepared. And Mike talked about this earlier, in pivoting your idea. If you decided that one of the clients that I have now decided that they were going to open a restaurant, well, that was their decision in January. Okay? As of today, they are not opening the restaurant, but they have partnered with an existing business, and they're handling through a varied and limited menu to test their audience. They are doing carry out. So with the carry out part of it, they will be able to see what is going to be those delectable and delicious items that a business will be able to take in the future when they open their business, hopefully in the first quarter of 2021. The gig economy. All right, let's talk about that. What's a gig? Is this a part-time job that's going to help you supplement your current or your existing business? Uber, utilizing Lyft. Do you want to be a part-time bartender in order to assist you?
That's only you're on mute. So if you can hear me, you accidentally put yourself on mute.
Okay, let me go back. What's a gig? Is this a part-time gig that's going to help you supplement your existing business? Uber, Lyft. Are you going to utilize this to help you bring in additional monies while you're developing your business plan and while you are making sure that your existing business continues to exist? Now, according to the SBA, based upon the pandemic, we have had almost 500,000 businesses that will not return. Those were existing businesses. That does not mean that you will have a foothold in a new business venture. So we don't want you to be discouraged. Entrepreneurship, it's a process. This is what you want to be, an entrepreneur, or you already are. And what is an entrepreneur? According to Webster, an entrepreneur is a risk taker. So by the mere fact that there were 239 attendees, we applaud you because all of you are risk takers. And all of you either are trying to figure out how you're going to increase your business, maintain your business, or at some point start a new business, pivoting your existing business. Do we have any questions yet, Claudia, before I get to the hybrid?
Yes. First question is, do you have software at your location or that you can connect us with online that we can utilize, which develops a business plan?
Once you register with us, we will certainly be able, as Mike had mentioned, to provide you with a template and software. No, we do not have any additional software because that would mean that you would have to purchase the software. And we want to make sure that we are providing you with the guidelines, but there are many applications that are free applications that can assist you in developing your business. Anything else?
Yep. How can I make a one-on-one appointment with the DC Small Business Development Center to discuss my business plan?
Register at www.dcsbdc.org. You will fill out a profile. That profile would go electronically into our system. That system, we will look at those businesses that are really registering with us, and a counselor will call you within a 48-hour period. Call you and or email you.
Last question before we move on. During the development of a business plan that will offer a service, how do I ensure my business plan / concept is protected as I seek individuals / financial corporations to critique or finance my plan?
Excellent question. Excellent question. We know that oftentimes individuals are very interested in sharing their business plans with others. We do not discourage that you do that, but we do have a form that is a disclaimer that indicates once you've shared that with someone, that individual, they must sign it. That individual cannot go out and start something else based upon your business plan. So that is a legal document that we would share with you. And we do caution new businesses in terms of making sure that we know that you love your family, we know that you love your friends, and of course, those others that are in the business community. But we want to make sure that you are covered in terms of your intellectual property. Services, supplies, all of that would come under our counseling session, and we would share that information with you. Absolutely. That was an excellent question. Any more? Oh, wait a minute, Claudia, go right back. I didn't talk about hybrid. So the hybrid, what is the difference? Why are you thinking of a hybrid? Because a hybrid is going to be a combination of all of the above. You could have a little bit of your traditional work. Are you going to have a gig? You definitely are going to be an entrepreneur. So you may at some point combine all of this in terms of being a hybrid. The hybrid would be, again, a part of the new norm. That's a hybrid. Any questions?
None so far.
Okay. Why are you going to start your own business? As you can see, there's a long list of whys. Do you want to make more money? Do you don't particularly like your job? Have you been laid off? Are you collecting unemployment due to downsizing? Or the ultimate decision oftentimes is, I want to be my own boss. So since you want to be your own boss, are you willing to take those risks? How can I better make my business a better business? How do I leverage my skills? As an entrepreneur, it is not a 9 to 5. I can certainly attest to that. It is never a 9 to 5. Are you willing to put in the extra work? Do you want to make a difference, in terms of your social consciousness? This obviously would be a part of also being a nonprofit, but your business can also be a for-profit, but you're still helping the cause. Now, of course, the nonprofit, as we mentioned before, the DC Small Business Development Center does not do nonprofits. However, the DC RA Small Business Resource Center can guide you in that vein. Do you want your job to fit into a certain lifestyle? Do you want to be able, I can work as an independent consultant, particularly now, I can work anywhere, even though I'm social distancing. But do you feel that you want to make sure that as I proceed in terms of what I want my business to be, how do I want to travel at some date? The pandemic is not going to last forever, we're hoping. So this is a good time. If you're thinking about starting a business, this is a good time that you should start it. I don't know. It just seems like a good thing. Well, it is a good thing. Being an entrepreneur, are you leaving that as a legacy for someone else? If you enjoy baking, perhaps you want to open up a bakery. Perhaps you want to specialize in one particular thing. We helped a business a couple of years ago. They were excellent in terms of they enjoyed baking, and all they wanted to bake was cupcakes. Of course, that business existed with just doing cupcakes. They have a phenomenal business. So these are the kinds of things that you want to talk about in terms of, why am I going to start a business? Now, with that being said, Claudia, are there any additional questions?
Yes. First question is, during the development of a business plan that will offer a service, how do I, oh, I'm sorry, we had already did that one. Next question. How do I go about creating ideas/products that I am not well versed in? For example, a product idea that involves technology, but I do not have experience or the specific knowledge to create the product.
Well, my question to them, let me kind of go back to them and saying, why would you want to start a business that you don't have any experience in? That's my first question. And I'm going to give them an opportunity to respond. But secondarily, if you have your sights on something different, then the most important thing that you would do right now is to re-educate yourself. Perhaps you need to take some classes in technology or in data processing or in just overall digital technology. Those courses may be offered free online. And of course, they are offered at the University of the District of Columbia. And of course, Howard University, higher education. Perhaps that's something you might want to invest yourself in terms of doing something different in an area that you are not familiar with. So re-education is a great time. This is a great time to do it. Any additional questions, Claudia?
So they added a comment saying it's a great product idea that would solve a pain point.
I'm sorry, repeat that again.
It's a great product idea that would solve a pain point.
That would solve a
Pain point.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. That would solve a what?
Pain, P-A-I-N, point.
A pain point.
Yes.
So that seems that that's some kind of they would need some kind of medical assistance or some kind of medical education.
Says to
They're talking
fulfill a
about
client
pain,
need.
or are they talking about therapy in terms of a physical therapist? All of if they're talking about acupuncture, then that's something that they would have to take training in. Mike, you're back.
I think so. Can you hear me or see me?
I can hear you and see you.
Oh, good. Okay, I'm on my cell phone. So
Okay.
Let's see how that goes.
We're on page 12, Mike.
On page
Okay,
12.
she's asking me to unmute her, so I'm gonna unmute her so she can ask her question.
Great. Okay.
You're unmuted, Jerry. Jerry, can you hear us?
Okay, we're going to save Jerry until the end of the workshop. She can come back to us. We're going to move on to page 12, which is Myths and Realities of Business Ownership. Mike, take it away.
Okay, we're on page 12, the myths and realities of business ownership. Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I apologize for that technical difficulty. I don't know what happened, but I'm back at least for now. Slide page on page 12, starting a new business can be a huge personal sacrifice for your family. And of course, that answer is true because the planning that it takes to start a business, the time involved can personally take a toll on your family. So be sure to have the proper planning in place as you begin to take on this venture. It's not a 9 to 5. I will assure you that. There's a lot of emotional ups and downs. That is absolutely true. So as you develop your business plan and you're looking at your goals and milestones, as you're looking at your financial projections, and if things are not on target as you predicted, that could be an emotional downturn. But with assistance from your partners and your business consultants, we can make sure that you turn that emotional downturn into an upturn, and make sure that we can find the ways to get back on track. But being in business, there are always peaks and valleys, ups and downs. So be prepared for that. Again, it is not a 9 to 5. Do you have to get it right every time? Absolutely not. That reminds me of what you know to be serial entrepreneurs. Individuals who go after one venture, after another, after a failed venture, after another, because they haven't gotten it right. But they keep throwing the balls up in the air and keep their options open. And down the road, at some point, they do get it right. But it's it requires failing and getting back up, falling down, getting back up, and sticking to it. You do not need a big cash reserve to be successful? Well, that depends. It depends on your product. It depends on your service. Uh, does your product require you to have inventory space? That's a cost, and you may need a cash reserve for that. But what I like to focus on with businesses is looking at a line of credit. And there's a difference between, let's say, a line of credit and a loan. The line of credit means that you have access to capital when you need it, as opposed to a loan. If you take out a loan on today, which is the 22nd of July, then on August 23rd, 31 days after you've signed a loan agreement, well, you have to start making that first payment. As opposed to a line of credit, you get the line of credit, the money's sitting there, you can access it, but you don't start making a payment or until you start pulling down some of the resources. So that's an option that will perhaps require you not to have a big cash reserve if you can access a line of credit. After about a year, you can relax and enjoy the profits. Yes. There's no guarantee within a year that you'll be profitable. In the financial part of the business plan, you talk about cash flow analysis. There's something called a break-even analysis. That's the point where your business breaks even. Your expenses pretty much have been accrued, and you are breaking even at that point. That's a formula that you can use to determine when that will happen for you as a business owner. If things go as according to the plan, does that happen in year 1? Maybe, maybe not. Does that happen in year 2, 3, 4? It depends. So that's a conversation that we would need to have in closer detail. Is it easy to get a loan for a great idea? No, it's not. Many businesses, even the CDFIs that I talked about earlier, they want to know that you have had some sales. Have you sold your product? Have you made money off of your idea? They want to see that. They want to see that you have you made money, and your projections say that you can make more money before they give you a loan. So getting a loan for a startup is a real challenge. Oftentimes they will want to know what collateral you have. Are you willing to put up collateral to get a loan? Are you willing to put your house up? I do not recommend that, but they will ask for collateral perhaps. So if you come up with $10,000 in collateral, they may be willing to lend you $10,000 based on the collateral that you put up. You will not, well, successful entrepreneurs do it all by themselves. Absolutely not. You sometimes need partners. You need folks that you can rely on, but it is not something that you can do all by yourself. You're going to need to have relationships with a variety of different folks that have skill sets that you may not have, and we'll talk about that in the next slide or two, but you cannot do it all by yourself. You will not have a boss. Well, that is not true. If you are a business owner, you may have a board of directors that you are accountable to. If you have borrowed money from a lender, you will be accountable to that lender to make sure that you are able to pay back or return the monies that you have borrowed. Same thing with investors. So you are accountable to someone, your shareholders, if you're a publicly traded company. So you may feel like you're the boss, but you will be accountable to someone other than yourself. You will have more freedom to move about the cabin, as they say, to be in control, to work life balances. That is not true, certainly not in the early years of getting your business off the ground up and running. If your projections and your plans fall in place, that you perhaps can have more freedom and control and create a better work-life balance. That takes a little bit of time, perhaps. And finally, starting a business is risky. That depends on planning, proper planning. That depends on research, and that depends on your time commitment. So oftentimes when I'm speaking with clients, the clients will go about the business of getting their business license, and they will get their EIN number. They'll get all of the Dun and Bradstreet number. They'll get all of the things necessary to start the business. And then they'll go about the business of planning for the business. You've spent a lot of money on licensing and certificates and all of that, and you don't know whether or not your business is uh, desirable, viable, or feasible. So we kind of recommend doing the proper research, and we have resources for that I'll share with you for making sure that your business is less risky. There's always a risk in starting a business, but what you want to be able to do is to have as much research and have done as the proper planning. That is through the development of a business plan. You want to have been able to develop relationships so that your your foray into starting a business is less risky.
Okay, Mike, thank you. And we know that time is of the
Oh boy.
essence as we
Yeah.
are moving through this process, but we really want to particularly leave you with this slide where it says myth and realities. It's up to you to make the decision. Are you a risk taker, as we talked about in terms of being an entrepreneur, or do you really think that being an entrepreneur is is really a kickback to that boss that you don't particularly like? It's hard work and long hours. And Claudia, I see that you have a question from Jennifer.
Yes, there were a few questions that came in before hers. With a hybrid business, how does this affect income tax reporting? Am I now able to mix funds and profits from my traditional business and my entrepreneur business under a hybrid business?
That is an excellent question also, but that's also the tax expert. The tax expert is really going to be able to tell you, you're really going to have to make sure that you keep explicit and detailed receipts and facts, that you do not commingle your business money with your personal money. You want to make sure that there is truly not a dotted line, not a thin line, but a wall between what you did as a hybrid or a combination of being a traditional business, a gig, working it part-time, as well as being an entrepreneur. So that certainly is a situation where you may, if you have, as Mike just talked about, if you have a social security number and an EIN number, which of those numbers are you going to use? And are you a 1099? Which, like Mike and I, we are 1099s, even though we own our own business. We are still consultants working for other people. So you need to make sure that you are not commingling all of these aspects into one pot, particularly when it's Uncle Sam will truly ding you if you are not very thorough in terms of being able to separate those items from being a hybrid entrepreneurship, traditional, and a gig. You want to make sure that all of those are not commingled in the same pot.
Correct.
Any more?
Yes.
Because I know that we are running over our time, and we're excited that you're still interested. Claudia, can you tell us how many people signed in out of the 239 that were registered?
Well, people have been signing in and out, but I estimate about 100.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Great.
The next question is it recommended that someone with only a high school education and some college experience study business or obtain a business degree before attempting to start their own business?
I don't think that, and I think Mike and I will answer both of these. I don't think that, well, let's use an example. I'm sure many of you know who the president of Microsoft is. He was a high school graduate with a 1 year of college at MIT, and he is now a billionaire. So in response to your question, you do not have to have a college education. It's good, but if you have an entrepreneurial spirit and you're willing to put in the work, a high school education, some college, a college degree, none of those are negatives. They're all positive. Mike?
I would concur. I was going to use that same example about Bill Gates. So yeah, you don't have to have a college degree. Do you want to know as much about business and how it works and operates? Yes, you do. And there's a lot of independent reading that you can do. There are a lot of online courses that you can take where you can familiarize yourself with the with business and how business works. But having a degree is not a requirement or necessary. As Nicola said, it's the entrepreneurial spirit that drives you. But if we could move on. I know we just have
we need to
about
move
6 minutes. I just
And-
want to go through the next two slides if I can.
Sure.
That would be slide number 13, and it is about your business.
And Mike, we certainly want to spend some time on slide number 14, because that was a part of the exercise in terms of them doing their work.
Right. Okay. So I just want to run through business concepts. You can kind of read that. I had a lot of different things I wanted to add to that, but I do have access to 3 or 4 resources that will assist you that will assist you with doing the research to determine whether or not your business concept is desirable. Is it feasible? Is it viable? And that requires research. And so I want to share with you and this is something that we probably will need to have a conversation with about later. But as part of our network, Nicola mentioned early on that we are in 50 states, and we have a research hub in Texas at the University of Texas in Austin. And we can get research information on just about any topic that you like that will assist you in building research information. So do you want to know what your customer profile might look like for your business? Do you want to know who your competition is for your business? And I'm talking about right here in your zip code. We can hone it down and get that kind of specific research information for you. There is also the DC Public Library that has excellent resource information for helping you determine what the business environment is like in your particular industry. We haven't talked about the NAICS code, the NAICS code, which is North American Industry Classification System code that helps determine what industry your business is in and how to access research information specific to your NAICS code. But that's another conversation that we'll have to have at a later time. But with that, Nicola, we can move on to the next slide and close it out after that.
Well, I think Mike touched upon this in terms of is your business desirable? Have you thought about it as being feasible? And what is your relationship in the marketplace? Do you know who your competition is? Have you thought this out? And this becomes a part of your business plan. So, with that being said, let's hear what some of those individuals that worked on their slide number 14, let's see what they had to say randomly. Claudia, could you give us 2 or 3, and would they be willing to be unmuted and give us some feedback?
Yes, if you would like to speak, please drop your name in the chat and I will unmute you.
As they drop their name in the chat, let us make sure that when they introduce themselves, Claudia, could they make sure that they tell us whether or not they are an existing business or they're proposing to be a new entrepreneur?
While we wait for volunteers, I did have a question come in.
Wonderful.
Can you all recommend any resources such as templates or examples that can be used to create a business plan?
That's on the next 2 slides, and that's coming.
Do you offer personality/professional assessments that help identify your business strengths and challenges?
They can also Google. All they have to do to make life a little easier for them, Claudia, is they can Google business plans. It will outline, and as Mike said earlier, if they go to www.sba.gov, all they have to do in the search engine is put in business plan, research and analysis. It's going to give them oh my goodness, a multitude of examples. It's also going to give them the kind of initial research that they may want to help them make a final decision on what kind of business they're going to be in, service oriented or product. So we use and of course, if they go to our website at www.dcsbdc.gov.org, all of this information is online. And Mike indicated that once you start with us, is one of our clients. We do have the SBA.net service that is
Yes.
provided to each of our potential clients, where they will do the research analysis for you based upon the kind of business that you want. It will also provide you with the market analysis, who is your competition, that those businesses that could potentially be located within a 20 to 30-mile radius. So all of those services are offered at DCSBDC at the price of low cost and free.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're at 3:30.
Yes, we're at 3:30. So Claudia, was there anyone that could give us an example of their exercise that they've volunteered to be unmuted?
Yes, I just unmuted Miss Tyra Marshall. Tyra, if you can hear me, I just unmuted you. I think you have to turn on your speaker.
Okay.
Tyra, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, because it's echoing back to me, so I wasn't sure.
You might need to mute your cell phone
Oh, okay, thank you.
if it's close to your computer.
It is, thank you.
You're welcome.
This business hasn't been started yet, but it actually was an idea that came about upon my layoff. And when I was thinking about what I would, Michael's word, to how I want to position myself, I decided I wanted to become an entrepreneur and develop the skills to assist small companies to grow their customer base or client base through a proactive sales effort, and also teach them how to retain clients. I've had over 20 years of experience in the hotel industry, and I thought it would be really nice to be able to assist smaller companies, 10 employees or less, to kind of engage them in have. Now, I will tell you that in the past, I've taken on different people just to see if there was a need, different small companies, and I've worked with moto auto repair, people who want to grow their business as well as become technology advanced. So
So,
there is a
so
need.
what is your business, and I guess what is your question?
I'm just going down the question about is it desirable to people in market size? Is it feasible in the cost? And is it viable?
And
Was
what would
it,
it be, and what
I'm
would be
sorry,
your business?
it's a consulting business.
A management consulting business to what industry?
It would be open to small businesses to grow their customer base. So it would be sales proactively going out and selling their product via website or person to person or Zoom to Zoom. Also, there is a training module for their.
So you would be a business developer for small
Per,
businesses and helping them to create economic growth. Is that what you're saying?
that is correct.
Okay. All right. We were just trying to get a better understanding. That's good. Well, that's
Yeah,
basically what Mike and I do.
you're
And
on a huge scale. I'm talking about 10 employees or less. 10 employees or less. Not really talking about business development as far as business plans, mostly through the sales. So if you have a small business and
yeah.
say that you've already gone through the process of establishment, but maybe you're in a rut as far as clients, I would assist you in developing a different type of marketing plan to assist you in gaining more clients. And I would teach you how to work that marketing plan.
Yes,
by helping you.
what I'm saying. That's
I,
what Mike and I do.
yeah,
Oh,
I think,
So
I,
that's what I'm saying. We are consultants with the DCSBDC, and our background is in that area to help small businesses or large businesses, because we both have federal, state, and local government experience. So if you have that kind of expertise, then
so
yes.
do you, so question, do you both actually go out and get the clients, let's say for and then you also work with them on their website, not building it, but marketing it through Google Analytics and all of
That's a part of economic development.
Oh, that's good to know.
We
so,
want to make sure that those businesses grow. So they would hire us as management consultants, no matter what level their business is at, where they're there, where they have 2 people or 250 people.
Hmm.
They would hire us to help them for their business to grow. So Mike, I'm going to let you have a
yeah,
comment, and then we're going to move to the next person.
yeah. So what I think, tell me your first name again.
Tyra.
Tyra. And
Mhm.
Tyra, I think that is an excellent concept, but I think it requires a sit down consultation to work through all of the details and to see how viable, desirable, or feasible that it is. So, what I would encourage you to do is to look at the last page of the
Mhm.
uh, deck and go on to our website and schedule an appointment with one of the counselors. I want to be mindful of the time that we are now
Okay.
6 minutes past the hour. So, but I think we can offer you some assistance. In fact, I know we can, but it will require perhaps, making an appointment and us sitting down and working through some of those details.
Perfect.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Thank
Tyra.
you.
Uh-huh.
And Claudia, we're going to take one more question so that we can move on to the last 2 slides. And we want to thank everybody again for your interest and the fact that you have been intimately involved in this workshop. Thank you very much. Claudia,
Are
one more.
you able, are you able to talk about B Corps and B Labs?
B Corps, yes.
And
I just would want to mention that the B Corp or the Benefits Corporation is a fairly new offering or concept. And when I say fairly new, probably within the last 6 to 8 or so years. But the Benefits Corporation is basically a nonprofit wrapped around a for-profit, or vice versa. But the point is that you can operate pretty much as a nonprofit and a for-profit under the same corporate veil. Now, I will say this quickly about B corporations is that they are complicated and difficult to set up, and there are a lot of rules and regulations that you have to adhere to, making sure that you keep the for-profit and the nonprofit portions separate. And that is probably a discussion that we would have to have at some point later, and also a referral to, let's say, the DC bar organizations to help you sift through, and an accountant or CPA to help you sift through the benefits of the for-profit piece and the nonprofit piece. But that is a more detailed discussion that we need to have.
And I want to add those individuals that really worked on this exercise. I would encourage you to contact our office so that we can really help you in terms of making sure that this exercise has been completed, because we know that you spent some time on it. And so we want to make sure that we can guide you in the right direction. With that being said, I'm going to go to the final 2 uh, slides. I'm not going to go into any detail with them. We're just saying these are the kinds of support and resources that not only that you can get locally, but also nationally. Again, we want to highlight our partner, the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs, who has been very patient with us in this webinar. And certainly, Mike and I are available for you at Howard University. Next slide.
And this near to the last slide is just some more online resources that you can check. That all of these are very good. I've checked them before the meeting, so they are all current. And you can click on any one of them and get some additional information. Good resources, good information there on each of those websites.
And we also want to invite you to join us on part 2, the module, our second module is again, the Foundations for a Business Plan Module 2, which is the Business Model Canvas. Of course, Mike and I will provide that webinar for you on October the 17th. And it's, again, that's going to be sponsored with our partner, DC, Small Business Resource Center at DCRA. We'd like to thank you for the time, and hopefully this has been a great experience for you. Again, as we said, those are our next steps, and that webinar is really going to be another 90 minutes, even though we went over time on this one, and that was due in large part because of your many questions. So
Sure.
we know that you have a great interest in doing this. We hope to see you on October the 19th, October the 19th at 2 o'clock. And as you can see from this slide, Mike and I are available by email, and please feel free to call our office. And again, Claudia, thank you for being a great facilitator.
Absolutely.
This has been an exceptional workshop, and we hope that it had added value to all of those who participated. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Mike,
And we
do
look.
you have a last comment, Mike?
And yes, thank you all. And Claudia, I want to echo Nicola's remarks. Thank you for your assistance. And to the participants on this call, do feel free to reach out to us so that we can continue this dialogue. We realize that you can't cover the whole gamut in 90 minutes, so it requires following up with you and taking the next step together. Thank you so much for your participation, and look forward to seeing you soon.
And in closing, we want to say continue to practice social distancing, and please wear your mask, if not for you, for the other person. Thank you so much. And remember, DC SBDC is available to you. We are your one-stop to success. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola and Michael. Again, for the attendees, I will be sending you all an email with a copy of today's presentation, along with Nicola and Michael's contact information. Again, I would like to thank you all for joining us for today's webinar.
And Claudia, make sure they get the survey too, right?
Yes, so I'm glad that you brought it up. Thank you, Michael. Once I exit out of this webinar, and once you exit out, you'll also see that there will be a survey at the end. We ask you to please fill it out. It will be another webpage that'll pop up.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
We'll see you guys next time.
Okay,
Next
bye-bye.
time.
Bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.